We have almost everybody, I think. That's good. Share screen. Huh? What? Oh. Okay.
How was the art?
The art was just okay, but we took a walk around half of campus. Went along we went along a really pretty walking trail by a creek, and we saw the big manna tree. I should show you the manna tree. The manna tree.
My new boyfriend.
Huh? Right.
Alright, we gotta see this.
He shows it in his slide.
Let's see. See the manna tree. Oh, you can't see my screen. Let's see. The manna tree.
Don't they, where the breads are coming down?
That's right.
In the desert?
So it's hard to see. I'll have to turn off the light. So that's the tree we went to go see. It's enormous. Yeah, it's a big tree. Yeah, she is a little angel, except when she's a little devil. Okay. And sometime I'll have to tell you about. Where'd it go? I'll have to tell you sometime about this, but not right now. Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. Good. Pick that up real quick. Yeah, we took pictures. Here it comes. Oh. Cool.
How can you guys stand up and chat sideways?
We're amazing.
Gravity.
Cool. Okay. Back to work. So, we ended on invariance, is that right? No, we did validity.
So you say.
Yes, let me go back to the guidelines here. So we did validity and reliability. We are now on method bias. That's our only thing, the only major thing. Oh, and then second order factors, which is easy. But CMB, method bias, is the only major thing for this afternoon. So that's awesome. We may have time, we will definitely have time to do any extras we want to do. Plus, I haven't decided yet, or I'll turn the light back on.
This list is on one of your stats.
Yeah, it's on the general guidelines. Yeah, on the StatWiki. When we're done, if you'd like, I can walk through someone else's data and do a CFA, if that would be helpful, to see more mitigating sort of, because everything we've done is perfect, just about. Again, I want to emphasize why it's perfect. It's because I did so much pre-testing on it and made sure it was going to work, and then designed the survey properly and made sure the collection was orderly. And so all that pre-work leads into a lot of ease on the second half. So you've been warned. Here we go. Method bias. First off, let me make sure we covered everything in the slides up to that point. We talked about the chi-square, degrees of freedom. And if you have any questions about any of these, just stop me, because I'm going to zip through these because we already sort of talked about them. But just holler if you want to know, quick refresher or something like that. Degrees of freedom, absolute fit. We talked about SRMR. That's one I would recommend you use. It says less than 0.08 on this one. Relative fit, the CFI, again greater than 0.95. Here's a sort of summary table of what you should look for. And here I say less than 0.09. So there are different published thresholds on these various measures. Causes of poor fit. We talked about this a little bit. Let me emphasize a few points we missed. Misspecification. That's a very big cause of poor fit. If you're trying to model a formative factor reflectively, you will have poor fit. Or if you have several first-order factors that really ought to combine into a second-order factor, you'll have poor fit. Or a second-order factor that really ought to be broken up, you'll have poor fit. Overspecification, like when you add a bunch of covariance arrows between errors, that's overspecifying. Validity and reliability issues we talked about. Neglected assumptions we talked about. Large sample size and model complexity both inflate the chi-square. Remedies, we talked about all of this. Prevention is what I mentioned. That's the biggie. Multi-group invariance we talked about. Common method bias we haven't done yet. Okay, method bias. Okay, let me get on my soapbox about method bias for a moment. So you remember back in this slide deck, possibly. Let's see. Is it in here? Oh, here it is. This slide. So from yesterday, there are 3 different types of variance that you're collecting when you get responses to a survey. One is the trait that you're actually wanting to get a measure of, but then there's something to do with error, inability to answer precisely, and the method variance. It's something to do with the way you collected it or the questions that you're asking. There's method variance. So in our models, we account for trait variance. That's what those causal arrows are. If we go back to our model here, these arrows are the trait variance capturing tools. That's what these arrows do. Same with these correlation arrows. The error variance is captured by these arrows over here, where the error is. That captures that variance. The only thing not being captured is the method variance. And we are not accounting for it or controlling for it. The problem is, it's hard to know what that variance is coming from. Is it variance due to a sober society? You know, what if you collected data right after September 11th? Would all your responses be a little bit damper? Especially things about positive affect, would they be lower? What if you collected on questions that were inherently biased? We talked about the social desirability bias. What if you're asking people if they lie, cheat, and steal? So I did a study like this with one of the students at Case Western. He was studying corruption in business. And when you ask business owners if they lie, cheat, and steal, the answer is no, even if they do. So there is a method bias there. How do you capture the extent to which their responses are influenced by some sort of method? There is no good way to do it. And all the published papers on this will tell you there is no great way to do it. And so we only have hacks and workarounds that don't precisely capture it. And we're going to work with those, and I'll sort of complain about them as we go. I wish we didn't have to do it. Yes? Yeah.
So one was the trait variance and the construct and the title.
Uh-huh.
And then one was the method variance, not captured by the system.
Error variance, which is being captured by the error terms. Yeah. So in order to isolate the true effect of trait on trait, we need to account for error and method. But we're not accounting for method, so we need to somehow account for that. And here's how you might go about it if you had to. And most journals say you have to, so we will do it. What you do is save this as, go back to our CFA initial, file, save as, CFA, CMB. Go back to the CFA initial and resave it as CFA, CMB. Common method bias, CMB. And again, the reason to do this is so you can say with confidence that your traits are, the trait variance is being isolated. And that the answers you're receiving and the variances we're observing aren't due to something other than the trait. It sure is a lot of pre-work going into testing a theory, huh? So you'll go through all this process, and then when it's time to test your actual theory, it's real fast, real easy, real disappointing quite often. You'll have all this, weeks of pre-work, and then you get to testing your theory that takes 5 to 20 minutes, and that's it, sort of anticlimactic. Okay. And hopefully it works out. Okay, so hopefully you save that as CFA CMB. If not, it's in the Dropbox folder now. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our marker variable. We've saved in the background a marker variable. Yes?
You save back to the original CFA
The current final CFA is what you want to use. The one that's been adjusted already due to invariance or validity issues. You want to use the current final. Yeah. Let me make sure we're doing great online. We're doing great. Okay. So what you want to do is we're going to pull in social desirability bias.
How do you know which one to think of?
Okay. So you should choose a marker strategically. There are a few known markers. The most common is social desirability bias. The cause of variance in responding to a question is often due to this social desirability or socially desirable way of responding. Is it desirable to be good at computers? Yes. So I will answer that I am good at computers. Is it socially desirable to answer that I don't gossip? Then yes, I'll answer that I don't gossip, regardless of the truth.
If my research is on strategic decision making, I have a social desirability version for strategic decision making.
Something like that. Yes. What social desirability bias is trying to get at the underlying cause, partial cause, of the way we answer questions in a survey in a way that is not purely truth. What is influencing the way we're responding? And in many cases, it's social desirability. We answer the way we think we should be answering, rather than the truth. There are a few others, and I can't remember what they are, but I think Hayes has them.
Can't you take a construct that's maximally different than your other constructs?
All right, could you take a construct that's maximally different that was collected at the exact same time? You could, and that would do, it doesn't do what a marker does, but it does. Maybe I should explain. So the marker is trying to extract the variance associated with that particular marker, social desirability. So any of the variance associated with social desirability will be pulled out. Using one that is optimally unassociated with all of your other constructs is not doing that. What it's doing is it's saying, well, what variance with these items that are not related is shared with all these other items that were collected at the same time. Because whatever variance it does share isn't due to trait. It's due to something else, which might be this common method bias. If that didn't make any sense, don't worry. You should build in a marker if you think there is going to be some sort of method effect. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, think of the ways that people might respond to your survey in untruthful ways. Why would they choose one answer over another when the truth is actually something different? Yeah.
The surveys that we've been looking at, just to jump down this rabbit hole, are ones that have been proven and have been validated.
Yeah.
And I would assume along common method bias as well.
Yeah.
And would it be, I wouldn't think it would be necessarily right and proper to
inject a marker. Yeah.
Something that's already been demonstrated that's good.
So most scales that have been validated were validated before we used to check for method bias. Yeah. And also they were validated before we. Okay. So let's get back to whoever asked that question, Don or Carl, whoever it was. Looking at our variables here. Enjoyment when using Excel, atypical use of Excel, information gathered from using Excel, decision quality based on my Excel use, playfulness when using Excel, and usefulness of the Excel tool. Is there anything that would affect all of these across the board and make me answer all of them in a certain way, more positively or more negatively? Maybe they all have, well, let's see. I was going to say they're all having to do with my IT savvy, right? If I'm an IT geek, of course I'm going to answer positive to all these. But also there's a causal relationship there. So that's a true relationship, not a spurious relationship. Confidence, self-efficacy, students in a 201 class. Yeah, okay, so wanting to look good because they're filling this out for their professor. That might be something. Yeah. So in that case, it is sort of a social desirability. I want to appear the way I should socially. So in this case, social desirability is appropriate. But in another case, I think this idea of confidence, or how about optimism? Some people are just more optimistic and answer more positively to things. So you could throw an optimism scale in here and use that as your marker. Okay. The only marker that's been demonstrated to have an effective influence on extracting method bias is social desirability, though. All the rest extract more variance than they should. Okay. Let's do this. Social desirability is in our data here. We have to very quickly go look and see if anything is reverse coded. Here's social desirability. Down here at the bottom. These guys. So I am always willing to admit it when I make a mistake. That's a positive social thing. I always try to practice what I preach. Positive. I never resent being asked to return a favor. Positive. I have never been irked when some people express ideas that are different from mine. Positive. I have never deliberately said something that would hurt someone's feelings. Positive. How about I like to gossip at times? Negatively coded. There have been occasions when I took advantage of someone. Negatively coded. I sometimes try to get even rather than forgive and forget. Negative. At times I have really insisted on having things my way. Negative. There have been occasions when I felt like smashing things. Negative. Now what I would do is one of two things. Either I would just take all the negative and use that as the marker, or take all of the positive and use that as the marker. In this case, or I could reverse code these negative coded items and use all 10. I'm just going to use the 5 top ones, 1 through 5. They're already positively coded. In fact, the new social desirability bias marker by, I think it's Hayes, is a 5-item scale instead of a 10-item scale. It's a lot now. So the new one is only 5, which is great. So we're just going to use the top 5. Let's go ahead and create a candelabra thingy. Click. Oh, that's small. Control Z. Drag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's pull in social desirability 1 through 5. Now we do not care if this is a reliable, convergent, discriminant construct. This is not part of our theory. It's just a tool.
Is it okay if you put all of them in?
You can put all 10, but 5 of them are in the wrong direction. So you'd have to reverse those. Yeah. You don't have to data screen this one either. Nope, it's just a marker. We do have missing values. A lot of missing values. Yep. You can have missing values in Amos, but there are certain things you're not allowed to do while you have missing values. Like you can't do modification indices. Yeah. Also, I think you might not be able to do GFI. That's fine. It's fine. The only problem is then you don't have responses for everybody. Of course, they were missing, so we didn't have responses for them anyway. It's all good. Could have been way more embarrassing. Could have been some inappropriate song. Okay. Let's name this. I'm going to double-click the latent variable. In the text, I'm going to call the variable name soc desirability or soc des, something like that. I can call it marker. How about that? Marker. Am I going too fast? Okay. Only for humans. Well, then I'm just going to make it pretty while I'm waiting.
Does it matter which direction they're going on the scale as long as you have?
Yeah, they just need to be consistent direction on the scale. That's for any latent variable. If you have a reverse coded question, you need to make sure you re-reverse it. So if you're on a 5-point scale, subtract that value from 6. So the 5 becomes a 1, a 2 becomes a 4. Yeah, 3 stays the same. For each scale that is reversed, you need to re-reverse it.
So all factors, all scales across this construct should all be the same dimension.
Oh, no, 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 no. Within construct. Just within construct. So we could have anxiety up here, which is counter to everything else. And it would have a negative correlation with everything, but it would have positive loadings on itself.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I've got a question.
Oh, yeah, it goes through View Interface Properties, and then go to the Miscellaneous tab, and then uncheck the Display Variable Names, first checkbox, and then hit Apply. You're welcome. And then if you want, you can resize plugins, resize observed variables, and that'll fix those box sizes.
So we start off with several there, right? Then looking at several times, right?
Yeah, candelabra, we need 5 items.
So you
Yep.
start with the candelabra.
Yep, I did. And at some point, we need to plugins name unobserved variables, so the error terms get named. And as long as I'm here hanging out, let's see.
I think there's a limit. I have a limit of time.
Cool. It's a big model. What you need?
The how you rotate the.
Oh, rotate them. It's this little rotating thing under the fire truck. Yeah. Not super intuitive.
Is
Okay.
it limited to 5?
No, you can have as many as you want. Go like this. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah,
No.
keeps going. That's as far as I can get. I have to go delete all this. Dope. Dang it. Undo only goes back 5 steps.
Rotate, should we get the error?
Yeah. Are we good? No? Who needs help? Oh, you know, I'll just save this and you can use mine. Jim, you good?
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that I changed all the names in the variables by mistake.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right. I figured out.
All right, I have now saved this if you'd like to grab it, Chuck. Okay. So the next thing to do is we need to covary all of the existing latent variables with the marker. Now, unfortunately, the new Amos duplicates covariance arrows, so we have to do this one at a time. Get the 2-headed arrow and just go from the marker to everything else. It only draws clockwise, by the way. So we've covaried all of the latent variables together. You don't have to. I'm just OCD. Oh, yeah. You can even change the gray area to be white if you want. If you go to the interface properties. Yeah. Yeah, it's just space. I'm just OCD, like I said. So here, I'll just change it while we're waiting for people.
It doesn't keep it when you tell them not to put the names anymore. Huh? It changes every time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for a new model, it goes back to labels. Okay, I saved this if you want to just grab mine. It's in the Amos folder, and it's called CFA CMB in the Dropbox folder. What if we did not use any marker in our survey? Too late? This is a fabulous question, Shu. Thank you for asking. What if we didn't use a marker variable? Is it too late? We've already collected data. The answer is it's too late to use a marker variable, but you can do what Don said and take any set of You can take any latent factor from your data set that you haven't already used, and you can use that as a sort of quasi-marker. The idea behind the shared variance is we want to know how much variance is shared across all items, because whatever is shared across all items is common and is likely caused by some common effect. Now, whether that's method bias or some underlying trait, we don't know. But that is one way to extract it. So instead of, for example, instead of using marker here, social desirability, I could have used, well, one of those variables I deleted at the beginning. We used to have a bunch of variables in here. I could use one of those, but I already deleted them. So, oops. But if you look in the Boot Camp original, you'd see them there. Okay. So then, they're all covaried. The next thing we need to do is go get the common latent factor plugin. And this will work on AMOS 24, or at least it should work on AMOS 24. So, to do that, go to the wiki, go to the sidebar, and there's something called the AMOS CLF plugin. You're going to right-click it, save link as, just like we did before. And you're going to save it to your downloads folder, unblock it. Who needs to do this, the CLF plugin? A couple people? Okay, so we'll do it. This is an updated CLF plugin as of last week. Yeah. Well, then everyone needs it? Okay.
So this name is a CFA plugin?
It's the CLF plugin. Yeah. It's on the StatWiki. All right, so it sounds like most people need it. Go to the home page of the StatWiki, and on the sidebar, there's something called AMOS CLF plugin. You're going to right-click that, save link as. Yep. And then save it as just whatever it's called already, clf.vb. And then you're going to go open the folder it's in, which, yep, save it to wherever you want, just not into an AMOS folder yet. Yeah, save link, that's right. Don't put it in your plugin folder yet. You need to unblock it, so right-click, go to Properties, unblock it, then you put it in the plugins folder. Are we having trouble saving?
I have to admit, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, you're good.
Don't worry. Save target.
Yeah, save target as. That means using Internet Explorer. Yep. So right-click, save link as. And it'll ask where you want to save it. So on your desktop is fine. And then we'll go right-click that file. So go to wherever that file is. Gotta navigate to that folder. You right-click it, Properties, unblock. Yeah, it all has to be in Windows. It's in the General tab. If you don't see an unblock, that means you don't have to unblock it. And then just hit OK. And then drag it back into that plugins folder. Remember that was in C, program files, x86, IBM, SPSS, AMOS 23. Yeah, so then you're going to drag it into the relevant folder. So for me, it's in C, program files, x86, IBM. Or are you talking about unblocking? This SPSS. I have then AMOS. Then for me, 23. And then there's the plugins folder, so you're going to drag that unblocked file into your plugins folder. Yeah, you'll need administrative permission. Just say OK, do it anyway.
I'm getting it up.
No. So it should be in there.
Program file.
Yeah, program files x86. And then it's got to go into your plugins folder, not your 23 folder, but your plugins folder. So is it in your...
Well, now it's asking you for
It's saving as a TXT.
Don't save, don't give it an extension. Or if you want, just re-extend it. So right-click it, rename, pick up TXT, add .bb.
I must type it.
Okay. So when you drag it in, then of course copy and paste it there. I'll go ahead to your desktop. Drag that on there, but whatever you click, there it is. Plugins, there it is. Oh, so if you're in 24, what you have to do is go into programming, and then drop it into plugins.
Do I have to close? It's my baby. You should have the CFA one.
The VB, there it is. Drag that in, plugins folder. Yep. Continue.
I think I see.
Okay. Now go to Amos and see if it shows.
You should have the CFA.
I don't think it's gonna show up for him.
No, it didn't show up for you? Dang it. I don't figure something out. I think it was 24. Oh, you might be doing something wrong. Let's see if it shows for you. No. Nope. Close and reopen Amos.
No, the other one. How do you know if you have it? Oh, commonly factor connector.
Nope, it doesn't show up. That's unfortunate. So Amos looking for blocking factor connectors. Oh, I don't know what to do with that. Oh, is this
Yes.
My own computer actually.
Okay. Figured out. All right, so if you don't have the plugin,
I know I hold it for that. I know I put it there before, but I think it's something else.
we don't fucking help you find the right place. It should be just like .bb. Plugins folder.
Did I get rid of C?
Oh, you're in the wrong place. Go to programs x86.
Yeah, click on the
So
button.
go to back to C.
Oh, okay.
And then programs. You don't have an x86. This is 32 bases.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there you go. There.
Oh, that's what I know.
Then IBM. Then Amos.
Right click.
Why you think that you think?
Not really. Yeah, .bb.
Oh, I thought I had plug in something.
Advanced.
Should be .bb. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it back there.
Thanks.
What's it called? Okay.
Yeah, it should be. What's on your vector? You have it. You have two.
I can run?
No.
No.
All right. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah.
We already had it.
So you had it before, but one of them's the new one, one of them's the old one. So I can tell you which one it is. All right. You like the folder you're playing?
Yeah, you want to get this available, you're gonna go to C first.
See.
So IBM?
Yeah.
Program class 86, sorry. IBM.
Yeah, program 36.
You want to? Drag it in there. Plug it. Alright. Get your capstone.
So.
Just grab that. Grab her, put it right. If it doesn't read, it's because it's not a black.
Okay.
Continue.
So, let's assume the plugin didn't work for you. Because for a few of you it didn't. Here's what you would do. And you'll end up seeing why I made the plugin. Not I had a student make it. Okay, are we close? Apparently not. Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's nasty. You certainly can. You got a good view. Interface program.
You've got to unblock it.
And go to the misfit tab. Display variables. Uncheck it. And then resize observer. Right, and then plugins. Plugins resize observer. Separate.
It's just
Program files.
C, yeah, SPC, Windows C.
unblock. I'm just trying to save you time.
Yeah.
No, we need to go back in.
The whole Wi-Fi contribution is all I did.
I would go get that. Yeah, because you face the
What he's doing was
Yeah, I think you got that. Okay, close it.
There we go. What do we do with the plugins?
Yeah.
Put it in the plugins folder?
Yeah.
All right, I haven't done anything else yet. We've been trying to get it there. All right. Let's make this happen. So, if you're in the unfortunate scenario where the plugin didn't work for you, oops, Control Z, what you'd want to do is create a new latent factor with this little ellipse thingy. And do the following very painful activity. With the single regression line, single-headed arrow, draw from this to every single item in your model. This gets painful. Don't miss one. Gets worse in a minute. But that's what you do. If, on the other hand, you're in the blessed scenario where the plugin did work for you, go ahead and create that that ellipse, the monster ellipse, and then with a single pointer, click it so it's blue. Either one will work, actually. Yeah. And then just click it so it's blue. Make sure it's blue. And then you click on Plugins, Common Latent Factor Connector. And it does it for you. There it is. So, that's a lot of lines. It gets worse when we have to constrain each one of their regression weights. Yeah, one by one. Yes? I heard there was a little bit of confusion.
So actually, I got a long note from Janine. Maybe I should share that. Don't tell me you're listening to James again.
And if you close the process and open it,
Why do you not want CFA construct the various cost everything?
Either way, you have to see because it's the thing that actually was shared. Commonly, the markers was only control variables with the other factors, not the items themselves. Sorry, online folks, we're having some technical difficulties on our end. As mentioned at the beginning of the boot camp, some of this will be mind-numbingly slow for you, some mind-blowingly fast. Yeah, so manually draw the lines and then give a variance constraint of 1 to the CLF. I use the plugin to draw each one. Do you have the plugin working? That's terrible. So then you'll have to draw with just a single-headed arrow each line. Yeah. The variance constraint, if the plugin didn't work for you, oh, then we're fine. It did it for you. Yeah. Hooray for plugins. I'm so not excited for Amos 24 if it disables all of my plugins. Nice. Okay. Then it doesn't work for 23, maybe? Okay, well, I have a developer on it right now. Okay. Are we ready to move forward? I'm ready. Okay, almost. Not yet. No. Yours does? Did you do that? Oh, here's why. Because you already named the CLF. Okay, so the new plugin, if you name the CLF, it gives constraints of 0 to all the lines. If you don't name the CLF, it gives them unconstrained. Yeah. No, so I didn't name the CLF. And so the new plugin, it does two things. If you have the latent variable here without a name, it draws all the lines for you and names it for you, and gives a constraint on the variance of 1. Yep. If you name the CLF, then it says, oh, there's a name there. We're on the second step, which is when you constrain all of them to 0. So, yes, because since you named it, it thinks you're on the second step.
Okay, so if we just put in
Don't name it. Don't name it. No, just no. You can just cut out this one. Just cut out that. Just Rodolfo. Everybody else ignore. Rodolfo, you can cut out that. Add in a new one. Don't name it, but do select it, and then just run that plugin again. It has to be blue before you hit the plugin. Correct. If you selected it using the single pointer selector, it just has to be active so that the system knows which one is the CLF. course not.
Right? Oh, okay, got it.
You're right. So no, so what you gotta do is select it with the pointer finger, close the pointer, and select it. You just have to click it, and I go. It's blue. And I go. And I'm like, right, so you see the other one? This is the first one you clicked on?
Yeah, no, don't touch anything.
Press save. Doesn't like it. I just have to close the model after you save.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Close Amos and wait with Amos. It's like they already have Amos open. Look that one through.
I'll close it. I'll close it. Well,
Guys, that's mine. So you have to open up the other one.
and then the other reason.
So that's fine. You do the others too. Whatever you want. Yeah, good one.
And just open it up. I didn't need it. Are you talking about?
All right, so what you do is which one your other one is this? The one you just have there is that CFA 5660. There, that is okay. Single quick. And then plug in. Oh, no, it didn't. Click on like that. Yeah, plug in. There it is. Oh yeah. It works. Okay. Good deal. Thank you. Just thinking. Also, you'll need to code vary that. What about that? Okay.
Okie dokie. So, no, don't say an error occurred. I was ready to move on.
My CLF is red.
Your CLF is red? Oh. All right, so Amos has this weird quirk where sometimes it'll turn an object red and then it's completely inactive and non-interactive. So the way to fix that, save your model, close Amos, reopen Amos, and it's fine. Yeah. Still not working for you? Do it the hard way. Do it the way that existed before I entered the field. Yeah. Okay. For those who had this working 2 minutes after we started, I hope you've gotten some good email work done. Facebook. Yeah.
All right, it's no longer. Got it.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Okay. So we have the CLF connected to all items. What does that even mean conceptually? That means that there is some latent factor that has variance in common with all of the items from the survey, including the social desirability bias items. By doing so, by including that marker, social desirability bias, we'll only get the variance that is common to those ones and all of the other ones. So hopefully that is just the social desirable way to answer questions. We'll extract that variance into the CLF, and then everything is left is the trait variance. That's the plan. Again, I don't like it, and it doesn't work very well, and often causes more errors. But we'll do it anyway. I'm going to save this, run it, proceed. It's thinking about it. It's a big model, so it takes some time. See if it even runs. An error occurred. Woo! So it's because we're trying to do modification indices, but we have missing data. So go back here to the analysis properties.
You were just setting this up the whole time.
Set you up to fail. Exactly. That's my plan.
Okay, good instructor.
I am. So uncheck. We don't need residual moments at this point either. Uncheck modification indices. Also back in the estimation tab, check the box for estimate means and intercepts.
Okay, so you can.
Yep, analysis properties. Yeah, but we want to estimate means and intercepts on the estimation tab. There's a checkbox for it. Yep, and then uncheck on the output tab the modification indices. We don't need those. We also don't need residual moments.
Estimations, we need what?
Estimation, we need estimate means and intercepts.
Try again. Got it.
And then output, get rid of residual moments and modification indices. And so when we run this, it will throw an error. It's going to say, hey, do you still want to do this? And the error is because we haven't covaried all of the exogenous variables. CLF is exogenous, but we haven't covaried it with anything. That's fine. Just proceed. Hey, I made it. Iteration 15. Oh, you're going to max out your iterations. Oh, good. 49, you got lucky. It goes up to 50. You have more than one variable named something? So you have to find out how you did that. Okay. Okay. So what we just did is we ran the model, extracted the common variance. If you hit the up arrow, you'll be able to see sort of what these are, loadings are like. It's not a lot, not big loadings, hopefully. Ideally, when we do this, it doesn't mess up all of our other loadings. So we look at enjoyment. Those look fairly normal, except this. Oh, that's the other line. Atypical use, they look fairly normal. Looks like we still have pretty valid constructs. How to move them so we can see them? Yeah, so if you use this little swervy ice cream cone thing, you can move a path loading somewhere else. This swervy ice cream cone thingy. It's like a top or a dreidel, or a, you know. Next to the scroll. I don't know. What does the scroll do? Reposition. You have to run it first. Then you maxed out your iterations. Yeah, so you need to estimate means and intercepts. So in the analysis properties, colored abacus, go to the estimation tab, and check estimate means and intercepts. And then in the output, uncheck modification indices. Okay, I'll be right with you, Jim. So you just maxed out your iterations.
And run it again.
Yep, run it again. Okay, so this is an apparent success, which is great, because none of our factors are now unstable. Sometimes if you have to CLF, the factor loadings will drop to be negative or like really small numbers. It's a big problem. That's why I don't like the CLF. Okay, yours just maxed out. So what we want to do is find out why you put the output. Look at the notes for the model. And it doesn't tell us anything. So awesome. Well,
You have to close and open again.
So what we need to do is let's try this first. So we increase your iteration limit. So the analysis properties under the estimation tab.
So did we complete everything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think if you so it says 306.
Go to C. They're not full.
So
So my guess is it's yeah.
So we're in there.
Go to the standard plan.
Yeah, but I'm sure that I could just that really should be.
So I have to.
Yeah, replace that with the skill acquisition one. Okay. We're not done yet. Okay, so what we need to do now is determine if the shared variance that we have is significantly different from 0. So let's do that. Chi-square difference test, yeah. So the way to do that is to constrain, well, first gather the degrees of freedom in chi-square for this model and put it in the stats tools package under the chi-square difference tab. So I have 1135.4 in the unconstrained, 1135.4 chi-square, and then degrees of freedom is 642. That's found here in this minimization history or also in your output. Yeah, assuming it ran. Chi-square, degrees of freedom. This is the unconstrained model. And now we're going to run a constrained model, where everything is constrained to 0. Yeah, it's probably because you deleted that item and replaced it. I'll show you. It needs a... No, it's good. There's a regression line, you need a 1.
I just left it out. Because I had 40. So I just left
It has that, and that has double click.
There's one
Okay. So we're here. We have the chi-square degrees of freedom. Stick it in a chi-square tool here. Now we're going to get the fully constrained model where it's fully constrained to 0. So let's do that. The way to do that with the plugin is just to delete the CLF and do this all over again, but name the CLF. So you would delete it, stick it in, but this time you're going to name it CLF. Under text, I'm going to name this CLF, all caps, and highlight it. And then if you run the plugin again, then it creates all those lines with zeros on them. If you don't have the plugin working, what you have to do is, I'll show you in a sec, so it has zeros on them now. What you would have to do is name the first one, or give the first one a parameter of 0, right here, the regression weight, and then highlight all of the remainder. Painstakingly make sure not to miss any line. Highlight all of those lines, and then you're going to drag properties. This button right here, drag properties, and you're going to drag the parameter constraint from that first one that you already constrained onto any of the other selected ones, and if they're all selected, they'll all get the same parameter constraint of 0. If the plugin's working for you, you don't have to do this. It does it for you. So again, if it doesn't work for you, what you've got to do is apply a parameter constraint to the first one, select all the remaining with the finger tool, and then drag the parameter constraint from the first to any of the other selected ones. And that'll do it. Yes?
So the first time I was supposed to create the CLF variable, but not realistic.
Yep.
If I would have ran that, then I would
With unconstrained, yeah. The second time around, by naming it, it'll constrain them all to 0. Yeah. Okay, so just work backwards, delete it, and don't name it. but you select it. Because we're estimating means and intercepts, so the mean is 0, the intercept is 1. These zeros are the regression weight constraints. Same idea. Yeah, we haven't constrained their variance. Oh, for you, yeah. So you name, or you give a parameter constraint to this first one of 0, and then for all the others, you'd use the finger tool to select all of those lines, and then you're going to use this tool here, the drag parameters, and you're going to drag the parameter constraint. And the way you do that is you drag from that 0, click on the 0, and drag it to any other highlighted line, and then that will drag the 0 to every line that is currently highlighted. Okay. Yeah, you see? Oh, yeah. So we need to estimate means and intercepts. So back, you hit OK, and go back to AMIS, and go to the analysis properties. Color navigation. Yep, that one. And then estimation tab. Yep, check the box on the top right for estimate means intercepts. And then the output tab, uncheck modification indices. Yeah, and then it'll run. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's why I made the plugin. There's no one on there. There's no one on there. There doesn't need to be. No. There's a one. Right.
Oh.
Yes.
Maybe no, I didn't. So now I would delete.
Did you get a YouTube sound good?
So it's just sort of rebuilding.
Yeah.
Okay.
James, I have a
So save as the CMB model and then delete one of those groups and then rename the other group all data or something like that or default. And then you're going to get rid of the grouping. So all data goes to the same. Yeah, get rid of all the groups except one. And then make sure there's no grouping variable when you do the data files. So it gives all the n to that group.
Okay, and then I was like,
So we just like
The one is not different.
James,
well, I mean, but that's what the customer did.
Yeah, good.
what if
Just
you're,
no.
Yeah. No, it gives you no.
Yeah, you know.
what if we are constraining only, we are constraining the model, what if we are only constraining the regression lines, and we're not constraining every single time? Especially the ones that go from the latent variables.
Okay, let me talk about this a little bit. Sorry, online folks, you're sort of being neglected as I work through problems out here. So glad it's working for you. Good. Okay. So a few questions to answer. First, why are we only constraining the paths from the common latent factor to be 0? Well, what we want to know is if the shared variance between all items is substantially different from 0. And the thing that represents the shared variance with all items is the CLF. And so we only need to constrain those to 0. Because we want to see, again, if that shared variance is substantially different from 0. And the way we do that is doing a constrained to 0 model and a unconstrained model. And then doing a common or a chi-square difference test for those, which I haven't done yet. 1135.4 and 642. 1135.4. Oh, I did do it. Okay. I put it in there. Oh, fully constrained. I need to run this. Speed. 1294. I can tell you it's already different. 1294.4 and 681. 1294.4 and 681. Okay. So it says, yes, these groups are not the same. Yeah. So what does that mean in terms of method bias? That means we have, it doesn't mean we have method bias. What it means is we have significant shared variance, which is different from method bias. It might be partially attributable to method bias, but we do have significant shared variance. So, yes? Yeah? Oh, that's a good idea. Sure. There we go. Done. Okay. So it is variant. Okay. Of course, the conditional formatting no longer works for that. Oh well. It's not invariant because the groups are different. Because variant means different. The groups are not different at the model level. Oh, that's because this no longer says no. This is so yeah. There we go. Thank you. So it's all interdependent. Thank you. Good catch. Thanks for messing things up for me. Okay. All right. For now, it's no. It's not invariant. meaning it is different. It is variant, which means we have significant shared variance, which means that we might have method bias if we consider shared variance as an indicator of method bias. Practically speaking, what does this mean you need to do? That means you need to retain the CLF in further analyses. So you're controlling for shared variance. If it's a no, that means that we are different. That means the constrained model of 0 is different from the unconstrained model. So that means shared variance is substantial. So we need to retain the CLF in order to account for or control for that shared variance. Otherwise, we're not isolating the trait variance and then predicting trait with trait. We're instead predicting trait with trait and method. So that's the theory behind it, at least. I still think it's a bunch of baloney. I mean, conceptually it makes sense, but statistically it's not a good approach. But there is no good approach.
So we don't have method bias, but we have
shared variance.
shared variance.
Yeah. Now, what if your model broke? Like iteration limit not reached, or iteration limit reached, or some of your items indicators went, the loadings here went negative, or something like that. What should you do if your model completely breaks? Because it happens when you add the CLF. Often it just breaks. Well, there is research out there that says by including the CLF, you're actually damaging your model. And so if your model does appear damaged, then it would be better for you to remove the CLF than to retain it. And just take the risk, the limitation of having shared variance. So that's what I would do. DM students, you may run into this fairly soon with yours. You may run into the situation where you need to justify dropping the CLF for the greater good of the model. Yep.
So we don't just thinking about our own research.
Yeah, the immediate
Immediate.
research.
We don't look for paths.
You could also identify paths that you can move the constraint on, as I've shown in other videos, but I'll let you do that on a one-on-one basis. Yeah.
If we change the marker
If you change the marker, that might have an effect as well.
for the variables, because we only put 5 of the social observability.
Yeah, you could throw in all 10, or we could throw in 2 separate markers. So we could have both markers in here, the 5 negative and the 5 positive, just have them on separate latent vectors. Nothing says we can't do that. In fact, they would probably return.
So that, can we use that as a solution?
Certainly. Yeah. The idea is you just want to identify the shared variance between all of the items in your survey. So you could throw in every single item from your survey that was a perceptual item, not age, not income, not gender. But any perceptual items, throw them in here on latent factors where they belong, and then do it. You just want to find the shared variance and extract it. Yep, with the CLF. The CLF is the thing that actually captures the shared variance. Okay. This is kind of complicated stuff, complex stuff. Woo! Yeah. It's all good. Okay. That took way longer than I expected, which is fine. That's totally fine. We had the extra time. So moving forward, we have method bias because the shared variance is significant. So what do? We go back to the unconstrained CLF model, so not constrained to 0. So I'm going to delete this, reproduce the latent factor without naming it. Not naming it, whoops, and then use the plugin. So we go back to this unconstrained model, and we're going to leave this in, as well as the marker variable. We're going to leave that in as we move forward. Now, the easiest way to move forward, oh, come on. There we go. The easiest way to move forward when you have to retain the CLF is to just extract factor scores. Because trying to move forward with a model that is this kind of a mess is just asking for trouble. So what I would do next is go to Analyze Data Imputation. And I would extract factor scores for this set of measures. Let me do that. Analyze data imputation. I'm going to proceed. It's going to run the model. Then it's going to produce, if you hit impute, it's going to produce a new data set called bootcamp original underscore trimmed underscore fs underscore c. So I'm going to impute. It said it worked. I hit OK. And if I go back to the Dropbox folder, thinking about something. Go to the Dropbox folder. You'll see in the data, there's now a fs underscore c. If I open this up, it has several new factors, or constructs, several new variables. Down at the bottom here, you'll see it has the marker, enjoyment, useful, playful, decision quality, information acquisition, atypical use, also the CLF and the case number. We only need these ones here. We don't need the marker or the CLF. The marker and the CLF are being controlled for already, because when we extracted the factor scores, the variance that they explained was already parceled out of the factors we had, and so when the factor scores were created, they were weighted based on those that controlled environment. So when we move forward, we're moving forward with method bias adjusted variables. So if I go create a model now, I don't need to include the CLF or the marker. They're already implied in our variables. Case number is just the row number, I think. Yeah, just the row number in the data set. Okay, and what did we extract? We extracted standardized weighted averages. That's what these are. Somewhat standardized, normalized weighted averages from our CFA, and then we'll use those in the causal model. Yeah. You can drop them if you want. You can delete those if you want. Yeah, same with the case number. We don't need that. Let's take a 5-minute break. I'm going to help troubleshoot a couple issues that are still existing. We'll meet back here in 5 minutes. That's like 3:30. So 5 minutes. Well, it's really like 12 minutes. So okay, I'll check it.
So what you gotta do is usually create it without lines.
Do we drop that?
And then sometimes you delete this, create the CLF again. Like
Do we put it as
and then put it as constraint. Just add all the
I'll start again. I'll just delete this. That's the first time I go through.
Yeah, you did. You drop it.
You already know the constraint, so just label the CLF.
No, I've got it. It's contained.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Chuck started.
just name the CLF.
But I don't have.
I see it, I use it and still think
We don't do it
At this point, but this is okay. So I have to go back down to the models.
You're currently on constraint, right?
I have all zeros now.
Oh, they're in there. Oh, they delete it. Okay. All right, delete the CLF.
Yeah.
With the X. Yeah.
Or you can
And then create another CLF.
Oh, I
And then highlight it. Don't name it. Move the. No, I didn't do it right.
Oh, I haven't got that far yet.
So mine,
Okay, and then plug in
No, I don't think it.
Oh, yeah. It's like sometimes.
There you go. And it's a lead string. And then
I like the zeros.
Did you? The funding we're trying to, because he works with people that aren't having to do funding, but yeah, we did that about his last time.
Because those numbers on there.
I was on the using You know, when I was downloading that plugin for using Internet Explorer, it changed the file
type.
Yes, it changed it to text.
Yeah.
And so I would use Chrome.
Yeah, you should probably download those files.
Yeah.
Okay, well now you have to do the training.
Oh, yeah.
You need that. It's like everything.
So we would know. You probably say
Are you drinking? I'm drinking. I thought you were using
wherever you have a data set. Yeah, I feel like every idea, but it's just getting but also, you don't see
when you're done, Did you do it? No, I still did it right. We did directions out. You seem to take pleasure in that. I think so. It's like it's been spinning for 5 minutes.
Oh no, so if it's just spinning, it's done. And if it's just if things it's doing something or not.
So what I do is shut it.
You can close it if you want. The data set was created. It's created. Even if it's still spinning, it was created.
So there's the data. What do I do with this data? I don't have the data.
Yeah, we can fix it.
Oh, that one? Yeah. I used to. So what do we do with these data? Where we stop? Created data.
Yeah. With a nice,
So I did it then.
Just as you go very low,
But then it's still going, it's around that stars and chocolates. This says,
No, it's not. It didn't run. It didn't run.
Oh.
Well,
And it says,
Modified. You say that already? Oh, yeah.
I got behind.
Oh, come on.
You know what?
Why not?
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's it.
So just kill it.
what were you this morning?
So that wasn't the one. So,
I already did. Jill, we need to
Oh, yeah. That's not supposed to be in there? I did the same thing. I just don't know. Oh, this constraint.
Well, now you know.
Did you have one to go to here?
So then I need one plug in. You plug your name, yes.
Okay, I just.
Did you set the last one? The constraint?
Inside.
Oh, I don't want.
We'll see you around. I'll show you about our project.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I have data now. They're ready next.
Oh, yeah, we can.
All right, are we back? Yeah, let's get started again soon. Okay, we found it. Good. Okay. Oh yeah. Shu, to answer your question, yeah, Amos keeps running after you impute, but it's not actually doing anything. The data file was created. If you want, you can just close Amos and reopen it, and that'll fix it. Okay. I'm going to go to the slides here. Second order factors, imputing, we talked about. Exercises, extra time. Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to get started again. Oh, unless there's still an error you're working on. You can address that real quick. Do you want me to help out? We can do one more thing over there if you want.
In general, but if you have to, you have to. Why would you have to? Is if you only had a couple items on a latent factor and you couldn't delete one of them.
Did you say you can tell if it's still open? That file is empty, the file wants to delete?
Yeah, I checked and it wasn't open. So close Amos first.
I did.
And then you delete that file. Why?
Do you know where you can find it easier?
Yeah.
You don't need to. It's right.
Here we go. So, you're welcome. Did it work? Oh, that's wonderful news. Okay. So we're actually doing amazingly good for time, considering all things. I say I built this into the boot camp. What's amazing is we're going through literally 3 semesters of content in 3 days, and yet with all the hiccups, we still make it through with time to spare. It's great. So you wouldn't have to go to 3 whole semesters of classes. Yeah. That's right.
Something you might want to do.
Yeah.
Future programs, don't you have a 3-day something workshop?
And just do all this so you're primed on it, and then you can take your classes.
Then do the classes where you're dealing with what it needs to be.
So we've actually offered to the class before you to come to the boot camp before they even take the quant sequence.
Yeah.
But to them, it's like, well, that is so over my head at this point. But if you think it would help them, preach it to them, or I can email it to them in the future. I never invite them personally. I always just invite you guys. Because they have 0 foundation at that point, whereas you guys have some foundation. Yeah. A bit. Yeah. You know what I would love? Boot camp instead of the Udacity courses.
No.
How about just a one day boot camp instead of the Udacity course? You like the Udacity? Okay. Outlier. Okay. That's right. Rodolfo, you've been deleted. Sure. Oh, for your cohort? And then just sort of repeat.
Well, this is all we've got in it. And then focus, because now we're doing major research questions.
Yeah. Oh, the causal and the qual, yeah.
And we've got that paper, so had to take grid classes, great.
But now put it together. Okay. Except you haven't had Janine's class at that point. So everything we've done yesterday and today is Janine's class. Yeah. And everything we'll do tomorrow is Kathy's class and my class. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Last thing. Isn't that crazy? Last thing for today that I have, but I'm happy to keep working with you and teaching you new stuff. I can teach you cluster analysis if you really want. No? Okay. I have videos for it if you're interested in cluster analysis. Okay. Second order factors. What do you do with second order factors in a CFA? It's actually very simple. You just stick it in as a higher order factor here, and then you draw lines and errors. We'll do one. So let's say, close this. Okay, let's say, excuse me, I'm going to just simplify things for a sec. I'm going to go back to my initial CFA. Yes, save my changes. Okay, here's my original CFA. Let's say we couldn't obtain discriminant validity between information acquisition and decision quality. We knew from the beginning they were highly related. So if we couldn't obtain discriminant validity, what we could do is instead create a Control Z, create a second order factor for them. So let's do that. I'm going to delete all covariances with information acquisition and decision quality. And instead, draw covariances from all those other variables to my second order factor. So just these 4 here. And then I'm going to use these first order factors as my indicators, reflectively. And now I'm going to double-click this, name it success performance, maybe Excel performance, something like that. Excel perf. And I'm going to give its variance a 1. I could have alternatively given a 1 to one of these indicator paths instead of putting it on the latent factor. Either way will work. Make it pretty. And run it. Oh, did I miss something? Yep. So since these are now endogenous, they need errors because they are being predicted. There's now estimation error. So get the error tool right here next to the covariance arrow and click and click. Plugins name unobserved. And now I can run. Look at the output. Actually, let's do it visually first. Look at the output here. And look at that, 87 and 77. That's fairly strong, right? And now we look at the covariances, 55, good. 67, that's pretty high. 42, 28, looking good. I can even go do a model fit check here. Model fit 943, that's fabulous for the CFI. Let's go down to the RMSEA. Where'd it go? RMSEA, 0.04, 0.54. P close, over 0.05. Looking pretty good, yeah. Yeah, so what would lead me to think I have a second order factor? A couple things. First off, in the literature, it's built that way. That's one way to determine it. Or if you have a few latent constructs that are always loading on the same factor in the EFA. And you think they're separate, but really they're just all loading together. We saw that yesterday with Wade's data. All of his variables kept loading on the same one. Also with Mary's data, her hope, vision, and whatever the other one was, her spirituality construct, they all loaded together. And so we found a way to separate them in their own EFA, but when we put them together with everything else, they loaded together. So that's really an indication of 3 dimensions of the same thing. And so you'd make a second order factor. Also indicated by really high correlation values. 67 is not high enough, but something above 80 is an indication of a second order factor going on. No, this is just the original. Yeah. And so we can even do a validity check on this, and the tool works with that. So if I go to estimates, scalars, correlations, copy this out, go to Excel, and validity master, paste that in there. Regression weights, copy, paste that in there, and run it. It'll stick in that high one, the Excel performance, and it skips over the other 2. And so it says, yeah, you have convergent discriminant validity. Look, your CR is 804, your AB is 674, looking good. So we have valid second order factor. Only 1 dV now. That would change our model. But it would also address that discriminant validity issue if we had one. That's it. That's all there is to a second order factor in AMOS. Pretty straightforward. Questions about that? Yeah. Oh, could you have a third order construct and a fourth order construct? Yes, you can. It gets conceptually difficult. So we might say, well, there's a lot in common with Excel performance and usefulness. Look at this, 0.67. Let's create another thing that says like Excel utility or software utility. Or value, let's call it that, software value, and that's a third order construct. Third after Excel performance, only second after usefulness. But yeah, you can do that. It starts getting muddy, and I like to keep things at first or second only, but you can go third, fourth. Conceptually, yeah. Okay. That's second order factors. Piece of cake.
So Excel perf would be the first order, and
I know. Excel perf is the second order. Information acquisition, decision quality are first order.
so will it be easy to have items measuring Excel perf?
No, the items measuring Excel perf are sort of information acquisition, decision quality, which are measured by something else. Yeah, it's indirect measurement. Okay. We did that. Exercises. So we have an hour and 20 minutes left. We can do what we please with, yes?
So we created that imputed data.
And did nothing with it.
Did nothing with
We're going to do stuff with that tomorrow. Yep. Yep, that's all day tomorrow, or all morning at least. Okay. So we have options. We can finish early, or I can run through someone else's data and do a CFA. Just you watch. You don't follow along. You just watch. Just zip through it. Hopefully advance someone else's research. Or we can do something new. Like I can show you PLS. I can show you cluster analysis. I can show you other things. Yeah? Okay. And if you're good, feel free to take a walk and be done. I would not be offended if there are 3 people left in here when I'm done. Really, it won't bother me whatsoever. I'm here for you, whatever you need. We can online folks, so we're just going to go through someone else's data. Is there anyone in this room who has data they'd like me to run through? Yeah. So you have something that's ready? No, so half of these guys, they have data I'm not allowed to use.
Yeah, we would love to use our data, but you not use it.
They're doing a test right now. Just change the names. That's right. So you have something that's ready for a CFA? Okay. Online, anyone online have data that's ready for a CFA, meaning you made it through the EFA cleanly, and you'd like me to run through your data at a CFA level? Again, the past the EFA. No? Okay. Well, I'm going to run through Dawn's, and so online folks, you are welcome to stay or to go. Totally up to you. If I don't see you at the end of this, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay. Here we go, and I'll keep recording so it is available to everybody later. Dawn's going to send me some data.
For those are the referred to, kind of, we'll probably want to be around, I don't know, 5:30 to be safe.
Oh, when you guys checking in? Is it 4:30? Oh, is it 5? You said 5:15, Rich?
Yeah,
Sorry.
everybody walks out there.
Is it the Sky Room or the?
No, the tree room up the Sunday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to leave here late as 4:30. Yeah. Okay. Hailing, all right. We should jog up there. So there's a marathon tomorrow morning from Sundance down to Provo City Center. Yeah, in the hail. It's going to be great. I'm not doing it. I have tumors. I know. Okay. So, all right, sent. I'll go get it. So much stuff open right now. No, I'd love to just help you advance your research. Yeah. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we are going to do a CFA with this. Do you have an EFA associated with it? And I could just build that real quick, or do you have the output saved already? Yeah, send me the output. That'd be great. So I can just use the plugin. Yeah, of course. Okay. You probably need to get the variance constrained on the second order factor. Have you constrained that variance? Okay. 1. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you have the model already built. Even better. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then let me do that. Okay, I thought you had the pattern matrix. Okay, so we're good here. Even better. Wow, that's trippy. Okay. That's cool.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I know that item is going to create a problem. You want to put that back in.
No. We'll see how it works out. Okay, so I have Don's data here and his model. I'm just going to clean it up real quick. Resize observed. That's a little better. And select all. Make it pretty. Why are these pushed out so far? That is so bizarre. I wonder if it's because of the shape. It shouldn't make any difference. Let me try something real quick. Sorry, this is just my OCD getting the better of me. Those are way weird. It's great for what I do. Doesn't change it at all. Yeah, it's weird.
Where's my crayon?
Oh well. That's so bizarre. Did it do that by default when you use the plugin? Huh. I wonder if it's an Amos 24 thing.
Actually, it put it on the left side, and then I moved it over, and then I used it on. I don't know.
Oh well. It's good. It's not going to break anything. Okay. So, we have his data, and we're going to see if it works. I'm going to first just see if we have good model fit. So I'm going to run this. Validity and model fit. Here we go. So, zoom in a little bit. Looking at convergent validity. Yes. We're looking to see if it's above an average of 0.7. And it looks like we're good on every factor. Good AVEs. If we look at the correlation lines, I see a couple problems. 74, that's pretty high. So there's a relationship between SQ and CS. That's pretty high. But I'm not too worried because look how high the loadings are on, so we might still be discriminant. The one that concerns me is this one, 0.83. That is really high. It does? Okay, so we'll see what we can do with it. But yeah, I'm worried we're going to lose something. Or we turn this into a second order factor. What is EA? And what is SQ? I can see how those could be highly correlated. Yeah, okay. So we have roughly decent validities except this issue here. Let's look at model fit. Model fit. Come on. Here we go. Model fit, CFI 984. This is great. RMSEA 045, P-close. We have terrific model fit. Okay. So then we move on to, are you planning on doing a multi-group analysis of any sort? Okay, well, let's not worry about multi-group analysis. Let's look at, was this data collected with a single survey? Is it all perceptual data, like Likert scales? Okay, so then method bias could be a problem. Tell me about the variables real quick. We have attitude, service quality. Okay, so these things could all be, there could be some common factor among them, definitely. I'm assuming you don't have a marker variable. Okay, so this is great. We don't have a marker variable. Ouch. Whoa, foot hurts. Sorry, sometimes the nerve goes crazy. The one with the tumor on it. Oh, hurts really bad. What? Yes. I just didn't want to go like this in front of everybody. Okay. 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 It hurts really bad. Okay. So I do this in my office. I hope nobody walks by when I'm doing this. I have my door open and I have my feet up on my desk while I'm, halter position. Anyway, here we go. What we're doing, method bias. All right. Let's do some method bias. So I'm going to throw in a common latent factor. I'm actually going to shrink all this to the size of the page. Oh, that's terrible. And let's move this a little bit. Oh! Oh, Control Z. Okay, here we go. Okay. Stick in a common latent factor and select it. The plugin works on my computer. I say, oh no, it's your model. The plugin won't work. It'll work on my computer. There it is. And then we get the chi-square degrees of freedom. Let me show you a cool trick. You can use this title button. Click title over here and say, excuse me, chi-square colon equals slash cmin and df colon equals slash df. And hopefully, let's see if this will work. Let me run it one more time. Model didn't even run. Iteration limit reached. Excellent. We have problems. Okay. Foot's feeling better. So, when it says iteration limit reached, I actually have a video called Iteration Limit Reached in Amos, so you can go look at that. Of course I do. So it says the iteration limit reached. Where's the problem? It still produced some estimates for us. So let's go look at those estimates. It's kind of a mess in here. We can see which p-values are not significant, because that's an indication of high error. Notice here the SE, the standard error, is very high. And the p-value is only moderately significant. So it's these attitude ones. These two, FLE 1 and 2. Everything else looks pretty fine. Let me go look in the variances as well. We might have some crazy error in the variances. Here are the variances. Looking for error in here. E1 is a little bizarre. E7 is a little bizarre. Where do E1 and E7 belong to? Zoom in. Here's E7, delight 4. Okay. And E1 is attitudes. It might be a formative factor.
They're friendly. They're willing to help me understand my needs.
So those definitely could be formative. They could be measured reflectively if they're highly correlated. And in this case, they are highly correlated. So I don't know if there's a problem measuring them reflectively. So let's try this. The high error was on E3. I just wonder, let me down arrow this. Where is the parameter constraint? Parameters, not on that one, not on that one. It is on this one. It's on E3. I'm just going to move it off of E3 and put it onto E1. Sounds squirrely. Why? Because Amos is weird. Yep. And that might just fix it. Okay, so let's try that. Run it. See if the iteration limit is reached again. Nope. Got to 18 iterations and worked. How about that? Okay. Go look at our output. We have a chi-square in degrees of freedom. Let's go look at the estimates, make sure they're not terrible. So attitude 3 broke. Yep, attitude 3 broke. But everything else looks fine-ish. Let's go to the estimates. So you can see attitude 3, the estimate's now a negative, small, non-significant number. That happens often when you add a CLF. These other two, sort of the same. And you may ask why. Why those ones? And I'll tell you why. It's because attitude could be our sort of underlying common factor. If you have a positive attitude about things, you're going to answer positively to all these questions. So it's the underlying causal mechanism, common variance, trait variance. So it's not really a method bias problem. It's just that all of this is associated with attitude, and so attitude is the scapegoat. What can we do about it? Well, there are a couple things. Let's go see what other items you have. You have a lot of items. Are there any items in here that we could use, like you mentioned before, that are theoretically different, conceptually different from the other ones? Really shouldn't be related at all? We have assurance, empathy, no. Commitment, no.
We have a couple, like, it's an organic type broker store. So we have a couple, like, Williams Bank organic or local or market stores. Technically, that would be not related to.
Yeah, those shouldn't be related. Effort, service quality, relationship benefits, word of mouth, satisfaction, that'd be terrible. Percentages. Yeah, maybe the best thing we could get is Is either word of mouth or what was the other one you said? Oh, we do? Okay. What was the other one?
I'm just thinking the percentage.
Willingness to pay.
It was willingness to pay for like organic, local, or market source. That
Okay.
piece is different than
These three. Okay.
one of those.
Okay, let me stick those three in there. So we're going to create, create a new marker variable. It's not a theoretically driven marker variable. It is a sort of an ad hoc marker variable. And now that's in the way, so I can't get to it. There we go. Local, sourced, and organic. Okay. And let me name this as marker. And plugins name unobserved to get the errors. And then covary all these things. Let me rotate this. Okay. And then zoom out. Covary. Okay. Run it and see if it. Let me throw in lines to those three items. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Run it with the marker. See if it breaks. It ran. And let's see if those paths get fixed. Estimates. Still broken. Darn. Still doesn't like it. Okay, I'm going to move it off of EA1 and see if that fixes it. Whoa, too close. So a lot of fiddling here. Take it off that, stick it on the variance, see if that fixes it, and run it. Yep. See if that fixed it. Ha-ha. Ha-ha-ha. It sort of worked. These are negative, which is not good, but it sort of worked. Okay, we're getting closer.
So now, as you place the one on a covariance before the marker, you think that would have made a difference?
Possibly. I think it would have made the same difference. They still would have been negative, is my guess. So I placed it on the attitudes 2 to see if that would make a difference. Oh, I think that fixed it. It works. Okay, it works. So now let's do the constrained versus unconstrained. Cool. Is this progress? 249 and 159. Unconstrained, 249, 159. And let's go constrain. And oh, whoops. Select it. Don't know how to use my own plugin. There we go. They're all constrained. Run it. Proceed. And 338.9 and 181. Okay, it is different. So we'd have to retain the CLF. So let's do that. Plugins. Well, you know, we haven't checked convergent discriminant validity yet. We should have done that first. Whoops. That one fails. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do it with it present. Now we're not concerned with the marker variable at all. Or with the CLF. See if this even works with the CLF in it. It didn't break. Wow. It works. We have validity, even with EA and all that. You'll, of course, ignore the marker. Ignore the CLF isn't present, so we're good. But everything else worked. I'm actually very surprised. So you can report this matrix and this model, and you can analyze, impute the data if you want, proceed, and impute. And you now have a fixed, working, all of your constructs present, convergent, discriminant, reliable set of factors. That is good. Excellent. You can graduate.
So with those imputed variables that I was screwing around with this, when I was putting it into a structural model, then it was saying that I had like there was no variance. It was giving me 1 0.
Let's play with it real quick. That is beside the point, or we can play with it tomorrow during our causal modeling. But we have an hour now, or half an hour now, if you want. Let me make sure this is all saved for you. Close. Yes, save. So I'll send you that file back and the new data set. There's that one, and yeah, underscore C is the imputed one. And then where's my AMW file? Where'd the AMW file go? Oh wait, where did I? Oh, poop. It was in. Let's see if it's still available. It's still there. Good. Okay. No. Is this yours? Yes, this is yours. Make sure this still worked. This is the one. Okay. Is that right? Is this the one? Yeah, cool. This is the one. Let me save it in a location. Currently, it's in my temp Outlook folder. So, yeah, temp files, recent places here. Done. I do a lot of stats charity, a lot, about an hour a day on average. Some days are way more, some days a little bit less. Okay, close that. Okay, there you go. Cool. All right, we have 30 minutes-ish, 25 minutes. Anything else you want to see? I can just work one-on-one with you then. Remote folks, anything else you want to see, or you're good? All right. Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and terminate the video. It'll post to YouTube. And I'm just going to help people one-on-one over here. Unless I can also help you one-on-one remotely. I can see your screen. You can see my screen if you need. Does anyone need one-on-one help remotely? Okay. Okay, see you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, if you'd like some one-on-one assistance, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay anyway. The majority are going to leave at 4:30 probably. And I'll stop this. Stop.